Well, Merry Christmas week to everyone. I know Christmas is about 3 days away, which means it's my birthday week. So happy birthday to me. Welcome to Squared Circle Radio live here on our YouTube channel. If you are watching the replay, ignore what I just said. You're still watching Squared Circle Radio on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on podcast, forget I said any of that. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us. Whether it is your first time or you are a returning guest, thank you so much for being here. Might be some first timers in the house because we upped our sub count this past week due to the Reverend Tom Bryce inducting us into the SportsWire Radio Hall of Fame. Yes, that is right. This past Wednesday, we celebrated not only the podcast, but the contributions of the late, great Jared Justice, the young buck Andy York, and apparently myself as well. But in all sincerity, if you missed that stream, go check out the SportsWire Radio YouTube channel. It is on there. I will link that video in the replay. So I'll link it right up here so you can just go check that out. It was a ton of fun. We talked some wrestling and we talked about the podcast. We celebrated Jared. We did all kinds of cool things. And it is an honor to be part of the SportsWire Radio Hall of Fame. So we'll incorporate that in our show. We'll do all kinds of fun things with that, hopefully in the not so distant future. Again, if you're brand new to the show, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, follow on whatever podcast platform that you might be listening on, and share the show on your social media. We would appreciate that so very much. Listen, I know it's Christmas week. I know that wrestling is taped this week. I know that there might be a lot of people driving, a lot of people spending time with family, and that is fantastic. We need to do all of those things on your drive. If you want to take time to listen to this podcast or go back and listen to previous episodes, it passes the time. I promise. I'm not that boring. All right. So we would appreciate that. I would argue that's time well spent, ladies and gentlemen. But that being said, we'll try to be cognizant of your time tonight. We have a couple of things that we do want to talk about, including, as you saw on the thumbnail and as you saw in the show description, a year in review. Yes, it is that time. 2025 is a week or so away from turning into 2026. So we want to talk about the year that was 2025 as we wrap up this podcast. But before we do that, there were some things from Friday Night SmackDown that caught my eye that I certainly want to talk about. One of those being this ongoing feud of Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre that I honestly thought we were done with. But here we are. As apparently Cody Rhodes after War Games decided he was not done with Drew McIntyre. And I think it was before War Games. My timeline might be a little wonky there, but regardless, Cody beat him definitively twice. I would think he's done with him, but correct me if I'm wrong. If you're watching live in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, you can drop comments as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Cody called out Drew McIntyre after that, said he was not done with him yet. But didn't you just beat him twice? Like, why do you need to go back at him? Go back after him? I don't know. I really don't know. And then we get what we saw this past week on SmackDown. I think this was a replay of it. I think it first aired last week on SmackDown, where Cody invades Drew McIntyre's house. Now, you know, when the cameras go to a house, that things are going down. Like the ones that I remember specifically off the top of my head is 1990. I want to say it was 6. Maybe it was 97. Brian Pillman Has a Gun. Might have been late 96. It was definitely by 97, though. Brian Pillman Has a Gun. And Triple H invades Randy Orton's house in 2009. Most recently, Seth Rollins invaded Edge's house in 2021. Now we have this. Cody Rhodes invades Drew McIntyre's house. What I did not like about this, it's been my gripe for about a couple months now. It really started when Roman Reigns speared the New York City police officer through the barricade. I know suspend your disbelief, ladies and gentlemen. Kayfabe, they're not real cops. Okay, they're wrestlers. It's fine. But shouldn't we play it up like it's real cops? Like Cody Rhodes threw a dude into a lake or a pond or whatever it was. Like, can we not punish dudes for attacking cops? Like, wouldn't that be a nice wrinkle to the storyline? I mean, wouldn't that be nice? It would be interesting. You could turn one of those cops into a wrestler if you want. That's how you debut a wrestler. Doesn't have to keep the cop gimmick, but that's how you could debut I don't know. It could be interesting, but I don't like that gets glossed over. Like if I went out and did that, invaded somebody's house and then threw a cop in the pond, I'm going away for a long, long time. So let's just, especially in a feud that needs a little bit of juice, because this gave it some juice, but man, set the adversity. Give Cody Rhodes some more adversity. Put him in jail. I don't know. It would be an interesting wrinkle to the storyline. How he gets out, don't ask me. I didn't book it that far. I just think it would be interesting. On to the in-ring stuff, I guess. It looks like that Cody and Drew are going to go one more time. And as long as Drew does this apology thing and he's going to get the big stipulation of the match, Cody's not going to be able to put his hands on Drew. So that'll be quite interesting. If he does, he's stripped of the championship. You know, for once, when this storyline comes out, I'd like to see the champion get stripped. I'm not saying it's time for Cody to lose the belt. I'll get to that in a minute. I would like to see the champion actually just get so mad that he puts his hands on the other guy and gets stripped of the championship. Maybe he wins it back. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But that's interesting. So is it the right time, though, to take the title off of Cody Rhodes? Is it that time? Now, you can make the argument that it's been time to pull the trigger on Drew McIntyre since fans came back in 2021. You know, Drew was the pandemic champion. He was supposed to have his big moment in 2020. Didn't happen. He's the first man to make an entrance at a WrestleMania with people in 2021 for the championship, but he's not champion at that point, and he loses. And then he wins the championship at WrestleMania 40, holds it for 5 minutes, and Damian Priest cashes in. Wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, cashes it in, and Punk costs him. So he's not champion anymore. So is this story of failure with Drew McIntyre going to continue? Are we finally going to pull the trigger on him being champion? And if so, I dare pose the question, what's your WrestleMania plan for Drew McIntyre if it's time to pull the trigger? What is it? I'm not saying it's wrong. I just want to know what the WrestleMania plan is, because that needs to be your goal right now. As we wrap up 2025 and we head into 2026, we are moving fast to Las Vegas in WrestleMania 42. And that world championship has got to have a prime spot. So what's big enough for Drew McIntyre that you can build him at WrestleMania? What's bigger than Cody Rhodes? Is it time for Cody to lose? If Cody loses, Cody's chasing. What does that chase look like? Is Cody chasing Drew McIntyre? What's Cody's next step? Is it to win the Royal Rumble? He's done that twice. I don't think he should do it again. Does Cody need to not be champion for a while? I don't know. He looks weird without the championship. So I don't ultimately think that it's time for Cody to lose, mainly because I just don't see a clear direction if he does lose, for him or for Drew. I will tell you this. One direction they could go for either of them, if they could spin this, and if you listen to Busted Open Radio, which I recommend that you do on Sirius XM, they talked about this earlier, but I had it in my notes long before they talked about it. So I'm not stealing their material. I just happen to think the same thing. Nick Aldis getting in the ring with one of these two individuals coming off this feud would be fantastic. Think about it. Look at the history between Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis. the first ever All In, Cody beats Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. And then a month-ish later, at the 70th anniversary of the NWA in Nashville, Tennessee, which I was at, Nick Aldis wins the championship back in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So they have history. And man, they've got chemistry in the ring. But I honestly cannot think of a better first and maybe last, depending on what happens, opponent for Nick Aldis than Drew McIntyre. Because you could run this Drew Gets Screwed all the way to WrestleMania, because it's been ran for 2 years now. And Aldis is at fault because of it. I like that. I can get behind that. Or do you turn it around? And if Drew does win the championship from Cody, maybe Aldis is the one that is the mastermind and Cody fights Aldis. That could be fun. It could be really fun. Either way, there's a large majority of wrestling fans that don't realize how good Nick Aldis is. Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre would be the ones to show the world how good Nick Aldis is. All right. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know. You're watching live on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to take a swig of hot chocolate. Normally, I'm a Mountain Dew guy when we do a show, and I might need to return to that because I tried to take a sip of this hot chocolate before the show started, and I burnt my tongue big time. So I'm going to try not to burn it, but this cup is really, really hot. So if I spill this thing all over the place, you few people who might be watching live on YouTube, just bear with me, okay? Yeah, that's still really hot. I'm going to take another drink. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to sip slow so I didn't scorch my whole mouth. Having fun here on Squared Circle Radio. Again, if you're watching the replay, just ignore that. If you're listening on podcast, go check out the YouTube channel. It's kind of comical, actually. Two more things that I quickly want to get to here before we get to our year in review. Thank you so much for being with us. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate it so very much. Another feud that seemingly I thought was over. And much like Cody and Drew, I thought we had a really solid conclusion to the Aleister Black Damian Priest feud. If you're watching on YouTube, you see a screenshot there of Perth, Australia, before Crown Jewel. These two guys had a street fight, and Aleister Black with the fireball in the face of Damian Priest. I don't know about you guys. Throwing fire in somebody's face sure seems like the end of a feud to me, or could be the end of a feud. But these guys have just been rocking and rolling almost since Aleister Black debuted. And they're still going. Now, I don't hate the pairing because I do think Damian Priest needs something substantial to do. He needs something with some substance. Aleister Black can be that guy. I thought that was the end. I also thought they could have built this a little better. And what I mean by that is if you really want to build Damian Priest back up, because let's be honest, after the dude dropped the World Heavyweight Championship and after he separated himself from Rhea Ripley in Judgment Day, what has Damian Priest done? I'm like, he gets a decent pop when his music hits, but that's about it. Like, come on. I don't know. He needs something. And Aleister Black could be something. You could build Priest up and build Black up at the same time. Make Black a really hated heel by making him bring up Priest's past. Making him be that just ugly heel, his Priest's rough upbringing. You can make Aleister Black manipulate him in some way and just, I don't know, I feel like you could really do something with that, but they haven't done that yet. So So that's kind of interesting. Maybe because this feud is continuing, maybe they'll start going down that path. I don't know. They do a really good job now with vignettes in feuds when guys aren't on TV. So I feel like that story could be told through that. I don't know. Maybe they need to pull the trigger on that. Nonetheless, this Aleister Black and Zelina pairing, they've dropped the Vega in Zelina Vega. Aleister and Zelina, real life husband and wife. I love this pairing on television. I think it works really, really well. Really, really cool. All right, one more interesting news and note here. Dominic Mysterio has apparently suffered an injury. Now, you wouldn't know it on Monday Night Raw tonight because Raw was taped tonight. But apparently at the AAA event on Saturday, I think it was, Dominic got a shoulder injury. And he immediately clutched it after the spot. And a lot of people were saying, ooh, that's bad. Ooh, that could be bad. And some reports that are out there are saying that he's done for a little while, maybe even after WrestleMania. Other reports are saying, oh, they saw him in the hotel. Everybody went up to him. He's fine. He's good. Whatever. I mean, El Grande Americano grabbed both shoulders after the match. So it looked like he was okay. His arm wasn't like dangling too bad after the match. But of course, further testing and whatever, we haven't heard anything, and we wouldn't hear anything because Raw is taped tonight. So there's no need to hear anything. But that's your Intercontinental Champion. That's your AAA Mega Champion. That's a guy who we're just about to talk about in the next segment, who had an enormous 2025. That's a huge loss for WWE, especially if he is on this track to becoming a babyface like it seems like he is. Coming off 3 matches with John Cena at the end of his retirement tour. That's a dude you can't afford to lose. So we'll have to see how that plays out. May have some answers next week. Probably not until the week after that, though. All right. Appreciate you guys being with us. Like I said, we don't want to keep you too long tonight. Want to be cognizant of your time during this Christmas season, this holiday week. But we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us here at Squared Circle Radio. My name is Chris Belcher, and right now, I'm going to let you hear a little word from Sports Wire Radio and the Reverend Tom Bryce. Because if you're listening on Sports Wire Radio right now via the Listen Live button, there's more great programming coming your way. Check this out.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck because Sports Wire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, Sports Wire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and you can also catch Sports Wire Radio anytime on YouTube at Sports Wire Radio 6570. To catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. Sports Wire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on Sports Wire Radio. I am your host, the owner of Sports Wire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Thank you, Tom Bryce. Thank you, Sports Wire Radio. Thank you for always playing our show and the partnership that we have and the support that you give Squared Circle Radio. We certainly would not be where we are without you. So thank you so much. And thank you for carving out a little space in your Hall of Fame for some Eastern Kentucky boys who just like to talk about wrestling. As I said last week, it's an honor. I don't have many words other than wow. I never thought this podcast that Jared and I created along with my best friend Jason Backowitz back in 2018. I never thought this podcast would be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. I never thought it would reach the people that it has reached, but that is all thanks to Sports Wire Radio. So we could not do what we do without the efforts of Tom Bryce and the rest of the crew over there. So thank you so much for your kind words, and for, like I said, finding a little corner in the Hall of Fame for us. We appreciate that so very much. My name is Chris Belcher. If you're just now hanging out with us, whether you're live on the YouTube channel, watching the replay, or listening on podcast, either way, we appreciate it so much. The one thing I do ask is, if you are live on the YouTube channel, drop comments and questions down below right here. This show is for the fans, by the fans. You drive this show. I'll talk about what you want to hear about. So drop some comments. I would appreciate that. One more request: subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Doesn't cost you a thing. Helps the show a ton. We're not going to put you on an email list. Does help the visibility of the show, and it gets our program out there to those who have not seen it yet. All right. 2025 was a big year for WWE. Many might say that it wasn't as big as 2024, and rightfully so. You can make that argument. But 2025 was a year full of matches, moments, a legend hanging it up for the final time, and stars that were born. So let's look back in those four categories at 2025, a year in review, as we look ahead to what could be next for some of these matches, moments, and stars in 2026. Let's talk about a guy we just talked about with an injury. A star was born in 2025, Dominic Mysterio. Now, we know that Dominic had some incredible heat even before 2025. Who could forget when he turned his back on Edge and the company, and his dad, Rey Mysterio, aligned himself with the Judgment Day, and just not being able to talk on the microphone ever. Just booed out of the building. Incredible heat. And then in 2024, Liv Morgan aligns herself with Dominic Mysterio after Damian Priest is kicked out of the Judgment Day. But 2025, it's a year of organic growth with Dominic Mysterio. The audience is firmly behind him. It's fun to boo him now. And it's not one of those that it's like, oh, we boo him because we're supposed to, or we're obligated to. No. I think it's more out of fun than anything, because it's the gimmick now. But people are latching on to Dominic, and people want to see great things. Look at the reception that he got at WrestleMania when he won the Intercontinental Championship. Like, it's the beginning of the rise of Dominic Mysterio. And I said it a few minutes ago, I don't know how long they can keep him a heel, especially if that shoulder injury is a thing and he returns in 2026. Man, people are going to love it. So, Dominic Mysterio, a man that made a huge name for himself in 2025. What about, let's see, who else made a name for themselves in 2025? How about Braun Breaker kicking off 2025, spearing I Show Speed at the Royal Rumble? Just what an incredible moment that was. Of course, he was the Intercontinental Championship at that time. A really good fatal four-way at WrestleMania. He drops the championship, and then the very next night, he joins the Vision. We'll talk about that formation in a minute. But Braun Breaker aligning himself with Paul Heyman. I talked about it last week with Andy. Braun Breaker has mic skills. Braun Breaker has athleticism through the roof. He can go in the ring. But it's the street cred of Paul Heyman that puts Braun Breaker into another, I don't want to say stratosphere. It just puts him on another level. Let's put it that way. Puts him on another level. So throughout 2025, it seemed like all roads were pointing to Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker, and that was going to be the crowning moment for Breaker. Well, plans change, pal. Injuries happen, but it didn't derail Braun Breaker. If anything, it's fast tracked him, and he's getting a shot at CM Punk on the season premiere of Raw in January and may win the World Heavyweight Championship. You could have looked at Braun Breaker at the end of 2024, maybe even beginning of 2025, and said, yeah, that guy's a future world champion. When, Chris? Still probably 2 years away. We might be looking at within a year's time of that, of him being the world heavyweight champion. City Kitty joining us in the chat. She is late, and that's okay. We appreciate you being here. If anybody else is joining us live in the chat, just drop comments, questions. We'll talk about it. We'll flash them up here. We'll do all the things as we continue to look at a couple of big names that their star was born in 2025. Let's go to the female division, shall we? Tiffany Stratton cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase the beginning of 2025, became women's champion. And if that wasn't enough, she faced maybe the female GOAT at WrestleMania in Charlotte Flair and won and had an incredible run up until Jade Cargill took the championship from her, and we haven't seen her since, which I think is a good thing, because while Tiffany's star was born in 2025, I think it was time for her to take a little bit of a break. I don't want to say we need a character refresh, but the title run was getting a bit old, and too many matches with Nia Jax and just that sort of thing. But Tiffany Stratton became a star in 2025. So big things coming for her, I would assume, in 2026. Maybe a Royal Rumble win. It could be interesting. I don't know. Big things, I do believe. Speaking of big things, this guy, wait, let's get this comment first from City Kitty. Temporary Tiffy timeout. I love it. Oh, that's great. I love it. That's fantastic. Yes, she needed a temporary Tiffy timeout. One guy whose star was already on the rise, and thanks to the WWE Unreal series, we find out that they're going to strap a rocket to him in 2025. And boy, did they ever, because Jey Uso became a singles star in 2025, winning the Royal Rumble, going on to WrestleMania to defeat Gunther, to win the WWE Championship. Now, a lot of people might say towards the middle of 2025, he started to fizzle out a little bit. I think you can make that argument. His entrance and the crowd reaction and the merch sales would tell you otherwise. Comments online would lead you to believe that he fizzled out. But as Bruce Pritchard likes to say, it's the people in the building that he listens to. And they don't rock any harder for any WWE superstar. No harder than Jey Uso. So that dude solidified his star power in 2025. So that was the stars. Let's talk about the matches that stole the show in 2025. Obviously, you want to look back at WrestleMania. 2 incredible triple threat matches. Night number 1, the main event, saw Seth Rollins defeat Roman Reigns and CM Punk, which led to Paul Heyman aligning himself with Seth Rollins at the end of the night, creating the vision. What a moment that was. Just incredible. This pairing, I don't think gets enough credit because I think people were just crapping all over it to begin with. Because there was like, oh, Rollins doesn't have any connection. They don't have any chemistry. Rollins can talk. Heyman needs to be with somebody that can't talk. Well, I think it worked. I think it had lots of legs. But that moment was stemmed from an incredible triple threat match between three of the top stars in the company and main event at night number 1 of WrestleMania, as it should. The other triple threat match at WrestleMania from night number 2, the women's championship match between Io Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley. I mean, come on. What a match. And then later on at the Evolution pay-per-view, you take out Bianca and you insert Naomi, and they had an incredible match too. So these women busted their tails, not only at WrestleMania, but throughout 2025. Deserve some recognition too. How about we look at what Cody Rhodes did in 2025? An incredible ladder match against Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble, which I was in attendance for. Just a brutal, brutal match. And then who could forget the passing of the torch, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Cody Rhodes and John Cena at SummerSlam of this year. Just an incredible night 2 main event. That might be the match of the year, honestly. That might be the match of the year. It's hard to put anything else above that. The only one that I think gets close, and that's because it hit us all in the feels, was Crown Jewel, AJ Styles, and John Cena. Throwbacks, throwback gear from AJ Styles, all the tributes. You see Sister Abigail here on the YouTube screen. The Fireflies came out. Just a fantastic match. I think that one is the only one that rivals Cena and Cody. But the moments of 2025, there's so many moments defined 2025. Talked about Seth Rollins a minute ago. Of course, the ruse of the century with the knee injury, cashing in at SummerSlam, defeating CM Punk, and winning the World Heavyweight Championship again. Of course, it was cut short not long after that due to injury, but what a moment to end night number 1 of SummerSlam. And you're talking about SummerSlam. You got to talk about the moment of night number 2 and the return of the Beast, Brock Lesnar. Oh my gosh. Now, I'm not going to get into the political, legal, beagle side of all this. It's not what we do in this podcast. We talk about wrestling and we have fun. And on my screen, Brock Lesnar showed up. Brock Lesnar. Excuse me for the sneeze there if you're watching live. Brock Lesnar showed up. And it was incredible. Speaking of incredible returns, the one we never thought we would get. The question always came up, man, when CM Punk comes back, AJ Lee's right behind him. Well, she wasn't too close behind. She did make her return in 2025. Wrestled 2 matches, the mixed tag team match at WrestlePalooza with her husband CM Punk against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. And then in the women's War Games match where she got Becky Lynch to tap out again. But no moment in 2025, none, will top John Cena's heel turn. The isolated moment itself, lightning in a bottle for WWE. Now, whether you agree on how they capitalized on it or not, that's a moot point. The moment will stand the test of time as one of the greatest moments in wrestling history. We debated on this very podcast if it was better than Hulk Hogan's heel turn. I don't think it was. Man, it was close. Man, it was close. John Cena said on the Cody Rhodes podcast that everything that we saw on the Unreal doc was real about how that thing came together. And it might have been just to get eyeballs on the product. It might have been a knee-jerk reaction. There might not have been any plans after it. But the moment itself, they got exactly what they wanted out of it. Exactly. And you can't argue with it out of that. But the moment was only part, a big part, but only part of the John Cena Retirement Tour in 2025. A tour that dominated the headlines, the storylines, the wrestling world in 2025. And a lot of people were not happy about said John Cena Retirement Tour and the way that it was executed. Oh, there wasn't a match with this guy. There wasn't a match with that guy. How can you have the retirement tour without this? What? I heard Cena wanted 200 dates and you only did 36. Blah, 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 blah. Listen. What's done is done is done. And it would be fun to sit here and speculate and fantasy book in the whole 9 yards. But hear me out when I tell you that John Cena's farewell tour is like a band's set list on their farewell tour. A rock band. Let Kiss, for example. Since they've had so many farewell tours, we got a lot of examples there. John Cena's farewell tour is like a set list on the Kiss farewell tour. Well, what do you mean by that, Chris? Well, I've been chewing on this idea for quite a while. Let me see if I can break it down to you and help you understand the ebbs and flows of John Cena's retirement tour. Now, I'm not saying that it was perfect. I'm not trying to vouch for every single thing that they did. What I am trying to do is come up with an explanation as to why they did it, how it could have worked, that kind of thing. So, you always start with a big opening. You got to start with a bang. The lights go down. The crowd goes wild. You got to keep that energy up. And what does Kiss start every show with? Detroit Rock City, Deuce, shout it out loud. Man, the fans are screaming, they're singing, they're going crazy. Well, John Cena hit his big open with an incredible promo on the Netflix premiere of Raw, and then a great performance in the Royal Rumble, falling short only to Jey Uso. And then he cuts a promo in the press conference after the Rumble and said he's done playing around. He's declaring himself in the Elimination Chamber. And the wrestling world goes, whoa, let's go. All right, let's get excited about this John Cena. Well, after those big hits in a concert, maybe the concert takes a shocking twist, but an incredible twist, a fan favorite twist. Maybe it's a song that has never been played live before. And the fans of this band are like, man, I wonder what that song would sound like live. Could they even pull it off? The instrumentation, the this, the that. And then boom, that band pulls that song out and puts it in the set list. That's the John Cena heel turn. Fans wanted it for years, but they never saw it. Of course, we know that heel Cena existed as a rapper in 2003. I'm talking about when he became the John Cena that we know. Never saw the heel turn. Shocking, but awesome. Oh my goodness, what's next on this set list? Now that the band has you hooked, they do something that a lot of fans don't like. They play new music. Oh, an old school classic rock band that still releases brand new music and wants to shove it down your throat. Oh, this is the best material we've ever made. If you liked Walk This Way or Sweet Emotion or Toys in the Attic from Aerosmith, then you're going to like music from another dimension. I know I just switched bands on you, but that's the reference that came to mind. So they're going to play new music. Metallica. Oh, give me Enter Sandman. Give me Master of Puppets. Give me Fuel. Memory Remains. No, we're going to give you Atlas Rise. We're going to give you Hardwired to Self-Destruct. What? And that, my friends, is John Cena in his ruin wrestling. His promos, while they might have been good, it was just kind of a circular. It didn't feel like we knew where we were going. He was trying to ruin wrestling with his style. And everybody was like, this is the last time we're going to see you, and this is what we're going to get. Folks, that WrestleMania match was intentional. The way that WrestleMania match happened was intentional. And John Cena said it himself. What they did was exactly what they wanted to do. And then Triple H and creative says, well, John, let's ramp up the style a little bit. Let's get you a little more excited. Let's have this farewell band sprinkle in some of their old classics, but maybe with a twist. Maybe it's like a medley. Maybe it's an acoustic version of one of their biggest hits. So the fans are like, oh, I love this song, but I don't know that I want to hear it that way. Oh, why'd you leave this out? Oh, I like that part. Don't cut it. Look at the John Cena matches with Randy Orton and CM Punk. Maybe we wanted to see those, but maybe they weren't exactly how we wanted them to be because John Cena was a heel. I don't know. Well, then the band says, you know what? Enough of all that. Let's bring back the big hits. For Aerosmith, it's probably like, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, right in the middle of the show. And that's when John Cena decides, well, I'm going to turn babyface again. And that entrance at SummerSlam against Cody, boom, the crowd is back in it. I'll never forget. City Kitty commented earlier, dropping the horns for Metallica. I'll never forget being at my only Metallica concert. And they did exactly this. They opened with some well-known songs. And then they started playing some new songs. They even played a new song that had like an extended drum solo in the middle. And all of them played these big drums. It was supposed to be this big moment. And the people just weren't having it. And then all of a sudden, they play Fuel. And the fire goes off and people start going wild. That was the John Cena face turn in this entrance at SummerSlam. The fans got you right where they want you, and then boom, they hit you with what you want. Oh, and we're off and running now. You can do no wrong. You're playing more hits. You got a babyface John Cena against Logan Paul, and then a match against Sami Zayn for the U.S. Championship. All this, that, and the other, or whatever. The band's got you right where they want you. And then they're going to play a song that they like, that they haven't played in years. Maybe it gets a mixed reaction. Oh, this excitement. Oh, it tapers down a little bit. Brock Lesnar, WrestlePalooza. Yeah. While we want to see John and Brock one more time, we didn't want to see it that way. We didn't want to see John get squashed in 8 minutes, did we? Again, there's a reason for all that. But the band then decides, you know what? It's about time to end this show with a bang. Boom. And they start banging out the hits towards the end of the show. If you're at a Kiss concert, you're talking about Love Gun. You're talking about I Was Made for Loving You. You're talking about Black Diamond. All of those kind of songs. Boom, boom, boom. One right after another. AJ Styles match. AJ Styles versus John Cena. What I argued a minute ago that could be the match of the year. Man. Wow. So you're feeling great at this concert. Blah, blah, blah. Well, then the encores come. And in the encore set, you pull out some shocker that nobody expects. Nobody expects it. For example, on Kiss's farewell tour, they played Do You Love Me? Well, that's random. People love that song, but didn't really expect it on the farewell tour. You know? And that unexpected shocker is John Cena winning the Intercontinental Championship. How about that? About Aerosmith, when I saw them several years ago, they played Moving Out. That's the first song they ever wrote together. Everybody loves that song. Another shocker. Cena wins the Intercontinental Championship. Just a fun way to put a bow on this retirement tour. But all good things must come to an end. Kiss has to sing Beth. Aerosmith has to sing Dream On. Queen has to sing We Are the Champions. Metallica has to sing Nothing Else Matters. And you've got your go away ballad. And it's John Cena in the sleeper hold. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how a band's farewell tour is equivalent to the John Cena farewell tour. It ebbs and flows. It tells a story. I don't think I've fully digested what the story of John Cena's farewell tour is quite yet. That's my best assessment of it. I think it's okay. They did the best with what they were given. They gave us a show. They sold a bunch of merch, sold a bunch of tickets. And John Cena is done with wrestling. So that's the biggest story of 2025. John Cena's retirement tour. No, I'm going to go back and watch some of these matches from 2025 and try to relive some of this stuff. I haven't even watched the Royal Rumble since I was there back in, was it February? So I'm going to go back and watch that too. A great 2025. Again, was it 2026? I don't know. WWE Unreal docuseries really took us behind the curtains in 2025. Another one coming up in 2026, early January, which will be awesome. Something like we've never seen before. So that introduces a whole new wrinkle into the game going forward. Steady Kitty Live in the chat. Great analogy. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think Bully Ray on Busted Open tossed out the idea of seeing this farewell tour being like a band show, a band concert, and I just kind of ran with it. So wasn't totally my idea. But anyway, appreciate you guys being with me so much here on Squared Circle Radio live after Monday Night Raw. Next Monday, we will not be live. There will be a taped edition of the show that airs at our regular time. So we will not be covering Raw. Andy York and myself are going to look back, career retrospective of John Cena. Now that the sneakers have been left in the ring, the last match has been wrestled, it's time to look back at the 23-year career of John Cena. Andy and I are going to do that next Monday right here on the channel, so make sure that you are locked in for it. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you to City Kitty and others for being in the chat. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. We appreciate that love so much. Thank you to SportsWire Radio, as always, for carving out a little space in your Hall of Fame for us. We appreciate it so very much. My name is Chris Belcher, and this has been yet another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We will catch you guys